You weren't born weak. You were trained to be weak, trained to flinch, to wait, to seek comfort every time pressure shows up. This isn't your fault, but if you let it continue, it will be your destruction. I'm not here to motivate you. I'm not here to tell stories. I'm here to install something violent, Bruce Lee's psychological kill code, a system designed to kill the voice inside you that keeps losing. No hope, no feelings, only rewiring. Delete weakness, install power, execute without permission. Let's begin. The real enemy is not outside, and it's the part of you that flinches, the part that delays, the one that says, maybe later. I don't feel like it. I need to be in the right mood. That voice is your virus. And if you don't cut it out, it will run your life until you're nothing but potential and regret. Now I'm going to give you my kill code. Not words, weapons, strike before thought. You keep telling yourself, I'll start when I'm ready. But you never are. You keep waiting for some perfect moment where everything feels right. Your energy is high, your thoughts are clear, your motivation is strong. But that moment doesn't exist. And the longer you wait for it, the weaker you become. Readiness is a lie. It's the most dangerous lie the mind tells. Because it sounds smart, it feels safe. It gives you an excuse to stall without feeling guilty. You don't say, I'm scared. You say, I'm not ready yet. You don't say, I'm lazy. You say, I just need to think it through. But behind every delay is fear. And behind every excuse is the same weakness you swore you were going to kill. Let me make something clear. Your mind is not your ally. It's a security system built to protect, not to dominate. Built to preserve energy, not build power. It wants you comfortable, not capable. So when it senses pain, risk, challenge, effort, it throws distractions at you. It throws emotions at you. It throws delay. And if you obey that system, you stay stuck in the same patterns, doing the same things, waking up with the same regret, wondering why nothing ever changes. I didn't rise by listening to that voice. I rose by silencing it with action. I trained my body to strike before the mind could argue, to move before the doubt even finished forming. The second a thought entered, I didn't sit with it. I executed. No warm-up, no build-up, no mental ceremony, just action, cold, immediate, precise. You want to build power, then eliminate the delay between thought and movement, because in that delay, weakness grows, excuses multiply, and your future dies quietly. This is where most men lose, not in battle, but in the seconds before they act. They flinch, they freeze, they question, and by the time they talk themselves into moving, the moment is gone, the fire is gone, the edge is gone. Let me teach you something real. Hesitation is spiritual suicide. Every time you pause when you should strike, you kill the stronger version of yourself. So from this moment forward, you don't wait for energy. You don't wait for motivation. You don't wait to feel right. You act because it's time. You move because the order was given by your higher self. You execute because the version of you that waits does not get to live anymore. When the alarm rings, get up. When the doubt hits, move faster. When the fear speaks, act louder. Train yourself like a weapon. A weapon doesn't think, it strikes. And the man who strikes before he feels ready builds readiness through movement. He becomes dangerous, not because he's fearless, but because he's no longer controlled by fear. You don't need to feel like it. You just need to become the kind of man who doesn't need permission from his own mind. That is where real dominance begins, not in comfort, not in calm, but in instant action. So the next time your mind starts talking, interrupt it with movement, interrupt it with execution, interrupt it with dominance, because every time you act fast, every time you move first, every time you eliminate delay dash, you rewire your brain into something lethal. No more warm-ups, no more perfect timing, and no more giving weakness a voice. Move now, move hard, move always. That's how you delete hesitation and install power. There's a voice inside you right now. You know the one. It whispers the same garbage every time things get serious. I'm tired. I'll start tomorrow. Maybe I just need a break. That voice is not your truth. That voice is not your potential. That voice is the civilian version of you. The soft, slow, scared version of you that was trained by comfort and raised by weakness. It lives inside you like a parasite, feeding on your energy, hijacking your decisions, stopping you from becoming who you were built to be. It doesn't care about your future. It only wants to survive, and the way it survives is by keeping you small, keeping you safe, keeping you weak. It's the voice that says, let's skip today, it won't matter. You've done enough. Nobody's watching. Take it easy. That voice is a traitor. It sounds like you, but it's not you. It's your programming, your outdated software, written by a past that didn't believe in power, installed by failure, updated by fear. And if you don't destroy it, you'll obey it every single time. Let me tell you what I did. I didn't argue with that voice. I didn't debate it. I didn't journal about it. I executed through it. Every time it spoke, I did the opposite. Every time it tried to slow me down, I moved faster. Every time it begged for comfort, I added pressure. Why? Because that voice was the enemy. You don't motivate the enemy. You don't reason with it. You don't ask it how it feels. You crush it. This is why most men never evolve. Because they still let the civilian speak. They still wait for the voice to say, okay, now you can go. But a weapon doesn't need approval. It doesn't need a mood. It just fires. You want to dominate? Then kill the negotiation process inside you. No more internal meetings. No more back and forth. No more should I or shouldn't I. If the task builds you, you do it. If the habit makes you stronger, you execute it. No questions, no feelings, no softness. You think because it feels like your own voice, it deserves a seat at the table. It doesn't. It's a ghost. It's an echo of the weaker man you used to be. And the longer you let it speak, the more power it steals from you. Day by day, decision by decision, until one day you're left wondering why you're still stuck, why you're still average, why you're still talking about becoming better instead of being better. So here's what you do from now on. The moment the civilian voice opens its mouth, cut it off. You move anyway, you lift anyway, you train anyway, you work anyway, you execute anyway, not to feel better, but to replace the voice. Because every time you act through resistance, you program a new voice. One that doesn't hesitate, one that doesn't flinch, one that doesn't shrink when life gets hard. You create the dominant voice, the one that doesn't ask for rest, the one that doesn't worship comfort, the one that speaks only one language. Get it done now. That's who you really are. Not the one who needs a break, but the one who breaks limits. So from this moment forward, the civilian voice dies. You bury it under every rep, every set, every strike, every choice. You are no longer here to listen to yourself. You are here to command yourself. And every time you do, you become colder, sharper, stronger, more dangerous. Because the man who kills the civilian inside becomes the weapon the world never saw coming. No more delays. No more softness, no more internal passengers, only command, only power, only war. Kill the voice, rewire the system, and take the throne inside your mind. Make pain a trigger, not a wall. You've been lied to about pain, taught to treat it like an alarm, a signal to stop, to slow down, to back off and protect yourself. That kind of thinking, it's why most men stay average. Because every time pain shows up, they hit the brakes. But I trained myself differently. I rewired my system. Pain doesn't mean stop. It means fire. It's not a warning. It's a trigger. When pain hits, I wake up because I know what it really is. Proof of growth, proof of challenge, proof that I've stepped past my limit. Pain is not the enemy. Avoiding it is. You've been running from pain your entire life. Avoiding the gym when you're sore, quitting early when it gets heavy, stepping away from anything that pushes you past comfortable. But here's the truth. If it doesn't hurt, it doesn't change you. If it doesn't burn, it doesn't rewire you. If it doesn't break something old inside you, you stay the same. You want evolution without sacrifice, discipline without suffering, progress without pressure. That's civilian thinking. That's why you're soft. I built my edge by chasing pain like a weapon. When it burned, I smiled. When my body screamed, I kept going, because I knew something the weak never learn. Pain is not your enemy, it's your threshold. And thresholds are meant to be broken, but here's the catch. You can't wait for motivation once the pain hits. Because pain doesn't come with a warning. It comes with a decision, fold or finish, submit or strike. And if you flinch, if you hesitate, you train your body to back down every time challenge arrives. But if you move through it, you become dangerous. Because now your body understands we don't stop here. We break through here. That rewires your nervous system. It upgrades your identity. You're no longer the guy who folds under pressure. You're the guy who finishes while it hurts. Let me make this simple. Pain is a code. It shows up to test your system, not physically, mentally. And the way you respond decides what kind of man you become. If you complain, you stay soft. If you pause, dash, you stay stuck. If you retreat, you stay small. But if you press harder, even when it burns, even when you're breathless, even when your vision blurs, you shatter the limits the old you obeyed. That's how you build mental armor. Not by avoiding the fire, but by standing inside it and smiling. Because every rep you finish in pain, every hour you endure under pressure, every second you move forward while your body begs you to quit, you prove something important, that you're no longer controlled by weakness. You are now trained by pain. Pain doesn't block you. It builds you, but only if you respond with dominance, not drama. So the next time pain arrives, don't ask, why me? Ask, how far can I go with this still burning? You were taught to avoid pain. I'm teaching you to use it, to turn it into signal, into fuel, into your next level. Because in this world, only two kinds of men exist. The ones who run from pain and the ones who are rebuilt by it. Make your choice. React like the old you or rise through the fire. You want to be unstoppable? Then make pain your trigger, not your wall. Run toward discomfort. You keep trying to escape it, avoid it, hide from it. Discomfort, that tight feeling in your chest before you speak up, that resistance in your stomach when it's time to train, that burning hesitation when you know exactly what to do, but still freeze. Let me make this simple. Discomfort is not the enemy. Discomfort is the direction. Everything you want, everything you dream about, is hiding behind the door labeled discomfort. But you were programmed to walk the other way. You were taught to stay warm, stay soft, stay safe. You were trained to move toward what's easy and away from what makes your pulse rise. And now you wonder why you feel stuck, why your potential feels buried, why you keep saying someday, but never wake up dangerous. Here's the truth no one told you. The discomfort isn't killing you. Your avoidance of it is. Because every time you walk away from discomfort, you train your system to obey fear. You teach your body that hard things are off limits. You give weakness another win. But I flipped the switch. I ran toward it. Every time I felt resistance, I leaned in. Every time I wanted to avoid, I attacked. That's how I built my edge. Not by training harder than everyone else, but by moving straight into what they spent their lives avoiding. It wasn't talent. It was positioning. While they were dodging stress, I was absorbing it. While they were building comfort zones, I was building internal armor. That's the difference between average and unstoppable. Most men avoid discomfort until it's too late. The elite, they chase it. They hunt it. They run straight at it because they know it's the only way to evolve. Look at your life. What do you avoid? Hard conversations, heavy reps, risky moves, facing yourself in silence. Showing up when you don't feel like it. That avoidance is your prison. You think you're protecting yourself, but you're just reinforcing fear, feeding it. Letting it grow stronger in the shadows of your routine, but the moment you run into discomfort on purpose, you flip the system. Now you're not the hunted, you're the hunter. You don't feel resistance and retreat. You feel it and accelerate. You don't wait to be pushed. You dive into it before it comes looking for you. Because discomfort will come, life will test you, pain will find you, but when it does, You're already there, already inside the fire, already training in the exact battlefield most men avoid until they break. And now it's your advantage. The man who runs toward discomfort doesn't just survive it.
He bends it.
He grows from it. He turns it into power. But you have to make a decision right now. Do you keep walking the easy road, surrounded by comfort, shielded by excuses, held back by the illusion of later? Or do you sharpen your instincts, retrain your wiring, and walk straight into what scares you until it breaks before you do? Because every time you move toward discomfort, you send a signal to your brain, we don't fear the edge, we live there. And that is where killers are born. Not in calm, not in comfort, but in voluntary pain, in choosing the fire, in sprinting toward what the world runs from. No more hiding, no more soft steps, no more safety nets. From this moment forward, if it scares you, you do it. If it burns, you go deeper. If it makes you uncomfortable, you walk straight into it, because that's where your evolution begins. And everything else is just waiting to die. Burn the emotional crutches. You say you want to change, you say you want to be powerful, but you're still carrying escape routes, still keeping emotional crutches just in case it gets too hard. Let me explain something brutal. As long as you keep a soft landing, you will never rise. Because when things get difficult, and they will, you'll use that crutch, that excuse, that mental backdoor. You'll say, I'll just rest for a bit. I'll reset tomorrow. At least I tried. That's not recovery. That's permission to stay weak. You keep falling because deep down, you've trained your system to expect relief. Your brain knows it has something soft to fall back on. A binge, a scroll, a distraction, a person to validate your failure, a routine that tells you it's okay. And that's why you can't evolve, because comfort is still an option. But when I committed to power, I didn't just train harder. I destroyed the crutches that kept me soft. I burned every out I gave myself. I removed every excuse. I cut off every emotional pillow I used to land on when I failed. No backup plan. No support system for failure. No, just in case I break. Because I decided breaking wasn't allowed anymore. You see, most men stay stuck, not because they're lazy, but because they're too well protected. Their failure is comfortable, their pain is padded, their regret is tolerable. But if you really want to transform, you have to make failure painful again. You have to remove the relief, rip out the cushions, and replace them with consequences. That's how the edge is built, not through motivation, but through no exit pressure. When you have no plan B, you move different. When there's no one to save you, you fight harder. When there's no reset button, you become the version of yourself that refuses to lose. So what are your crutches? People who keep you average? Habits that give you quick pleasure and long-term weakness? Mental routines that excuse failure as self-care? You need to kill them, not manage them, not reduce them, destroy them, because as long as they exist, your mind will reach for them. And every time you let yourself off the hook, you teach your brain that weakness is allowed, that softness is survivable, that quitting is safe. Burn it. Burn the cheat day logic. Burn the I had a hard week excuse. Burn the need to be understood by people who aren't even strong themselves. You are either becoming unbreakable, or you're quietly building a support system for failure. There is no in-between. I built power by giving myself no way out, by standing in the pain and telling my body, there's no rescue team coming. No one cares if you collapse, so you don't collapse. You can't create a new identity if you're still protecting the old one. And emotional crutches are exactly that. Armor for the weaker version of you. Rip it off, because power only grows when weakness is given nowhere to hide. So from now on, you don't escape. You don't explain. You don't reach for relief. You replace relief with results. And if that feels like too much pressure, good. That means you're finally starting to evolve. Comfort is the addiction, the crutch is the chain, and fire is the cure. Burn it all, and watch what's left of you rise as something unstoppable. Replace reaction with ritual. You keep getting thrown off course, Because you live in reaction. You react to how you feel. You react to how others treat you. You react to setbacks. You react to stress. You react to failure. You are constantly being moved, pushed around by moods, circumstances, and outside forces. Let me tell you something. As long as you're reacting, you're not in control. You're a puppet. And the worst part, you've trained yourself to believe it's normal. You think it makes sense to say, I didn't feel like it. I wasn't motivated. I had a bad day. I lost my rhythm. That's weakness. That's a man with no system. That's a mind with no code. Because the truth is simple. If you need to feel good to do what needs to be done, you'll never become powerful. So I built a different way. I replaced reaction with ritual. I don't ask myself how I feel. I don't negotiate with pressure. I don't adapt to chaos. I force order into my life through structure. Daily, repeatedly, without question, every action has a time. Every move has a rule. Every hour is programmed to serve the mission, not the mood. You want to know how to build psychological dominance? Stop reacting. Start ritualizing. Ritual means you show up regardless. Ritual means there's no debate. Ritual means the system runs, even if you don't feel like running it. And over time, ritual rewires the machine because repetition beats emotion. Cold systems beat emotional storms. Execution beats drama. Reaction is what children do. Ritual is what killers do. A man who lives by ritual doesn't care if it's raining. He doesn't care if he's sore. He doesn't care what his ex said, what the world thinks, or what mood he's in. He locks in, and he does what the protocol demands. This isn't discipline, it's programming. When you create a ritual for your training, your diet, your work, your recovery, you remove the most dangerous enemy of all, the version of you who still needs motivation. I don't use motivation, I use protocol, I move at set times, I hit set standards, and I don't care if my mind resists, because the body follows the ritual. That's how I trained it. That's how I broke the weak system. And that's how I became a machine. You want peace of mind? You want momentum that never dies? You want clarity and control and confidence? Then replace every emotional decision with a ritual structure. Create rules that don't bend. Habits that don't care how you feel. Processes that override your thoughts. And force execution when your mind wants comfort. And don't stop until showing up is automatic. Until taking action is your baseline, until the system is so tight, even on your worst days, you still win. No more waking up and seeing how you feel, no more skipping because life got messy, no more falling into patterns that weren't chosen. From now on, you live by ritual, you execute by design. You train like a weapon that doesn't flinch. No matter the weather, the mood, or the war, reacting is emotional, ritual is elite. Pick your side and build your system so cold, so unshakable that even chaos becomes predictable. That's not just strength. That's psychological warfare. And the man with a ritual doesn't just survive the battle. He becomes the battlefield. Starve the old identity. You keep asking why you're still stuck, why you keep falling back into the same habits, why you say you've changed, but nothing around you looks different. Let me tell you why. You never buried the old you. You upgraded your goals, but you kept feeding the man who fails. You installed new dreams, but you let the old identity stay alive in the background. That's the problem. You can't evolve while keeping your past on life support. You can't become a killer while still babysitting your excuses. You say you want to be elite, but you're still living like the man who settles, still hanging with people who validate your softness. Still running the same tired routines that trained your brain to be average. You want power, then understand this truth. The old version of you isn't going to step aside. He has to be starved until he dies. Not managed, not worked on. Starved. You see, your brain is addicted to familiarity. It doesn't care if it's toxic, lazy, or destructive. It just wants what it's used to. That's why change feels so hard, because every day your old identity is begging to be fed. Scroll a little, sleep in, skip it just this once, ease off, no one's watching. And you feed him, one decision at a time. You don't even notice it, but every time you obey comfort, you give life to the man you swore you'd kill. And that man? He's clever. He hides inside your routines. He shows up in your excuses. He dresses up as self-care, balance, mental health. But he's not here to help you. He's here to slowly pull you back into the version of yourself that was built for survival, not for dominance. So here's what you do. You stop feeding him. You stop entertaining his voice. You stop giving him room to breathe. You don't argue with the old identity. You starve it to death. You remove every habit that made you soft. You cut off every person who enables your weakness. You delete every system that once served the man who loses, and you replace it with war, hard routines, brutal standards, cold self-command. No more, I'll try. No more, I'm working on it. No more, some days are just off. From now on, every decision must ask this one question. Does this feed the man I'm becoming, or the man I promised to kill? If it feeds the past, eliminate it. If it serves the old you, burn it. If it comforts the weakness, suffocate it. You want to become dangerous? Then act like your future depends on starving every last drop of softness that once kept you broke, distracted, and lost. Because it does. No man becomes unbreakable by dragging his old identity into his new season. He becomes unbreakable by killing it in silence and never looking back. So stop dressing up the old you in new words. Stop repainting failure and calling it growth. Stop giving attention to the mindset you said you were done with. You've talked enough. You've planned enough. Now it's time to starve. And in that hunger, the real you will rise. Colder, sharper, unrecognizable. Not because you added more, but because you subtracted everything that made you weak. That's how you win, not by fixing the past, but by becoming someone it no longer recognizes. Starve the old identity, feed the fire, let the world meet the version of you that was buried beneath the lies. And when the old voice comes back, don't fight it, just starve it and walk past it like a ghost. You talk too much. You explain too much, you show your process, you post your plans, you expose your moves to people who aren't even qualified to understand them. That's your weakness. You keep leaking your power through the need to be seen, the need to be validated, the need to be understood. Let me give you the final protocol, the ghost protocol. This is the tactic that separates the obsessed from the performative. This is where transformation gets real, because now, no one gets to see the work. No one gets to hear the pain. No one gets access to your blueprint. They only see the result. And by then, it's too late. Understand this. Real killers don't walk loud. They disappear. They rewire in silence. They train in darkness. And when they reappear, they are unrecognizable. You're still broadcasting struggle. Still romanticizing your grind, still looking for applause while you're building the system. But while you're talking, the enemy is studying. And while you're explaining, your own brain is depending on attention for survival. That's why you stay stuck, because you're not training to become powerful. You're training to be seen. The ghost protocol ends that. It deletes visibility. It installs invisibility with intention. This doesn't mean hiding. It means strategic disappearance. You vanish into the work. You disappear into the repetitions. You cut off the world. Not because you're afraid, but because it no longer matters. Your validation isn't external anymore. It comes from precision, from the cold repetition of unshared victories, from building in silence until you become the threat nobody prepared for. People ask, where did he go? Why is he so quiet? What's he up to? They don't understand. And they're not supposed to, because you don't show them the pain anymore. You don't explain the pressure. You don't leak your fire. You contain it. You refine it. You weaponize it. You become your own machine, locked in a loop of execution so quiet, so precise, that when they finally see you again, you're not a version of yourself anymore. You're a system. Let me be clear. This protocol will cost you. You'll lose popularity. You'll lose attention. You'll lose the comfort of being seen while becoming. But what you'll gain is everything they'll never have. Focus without noise, identity without applause, power without performance. That's what the elite understand. Visibility is a liability, and invisibility is a weapon. Because when the world doesn't see you coming, they can't stop you. They can't predict you. They can't weaken your next move. You don't need to share what you're building. You need to become so dangerous that when you finally reveal it, they feel it in their spine. So starting now, you don't show the work. You don't speak the plan. You don't update the crowd. You install a new law. Move in silence. Strike without warning, win without witnesses. That's the ghost protocol. And it's not for everyone. It's for the man who's done performing, who's done announcing, who's done seeking approval. He's not on display. He's in deployment. The ghost protocol doesn't make you silent. It makes you unseen. And that is how a weapon is built. No noise, no leaks, no mercy. You vanish, you sharpen. And when the moment is right, you return with results they can't process. Protocol complete, weakness erased. You are now a ghost. This is your new identity. You don't break, you don't pause, you don't explain. You see the weakness and strike it down. You feel fear and use it as fuel. You get hit and hit harder. You don't wait for change. You become the weapon that causes it. Delete the weakness, install the kill code. Walk like a loaded system, execute without mercy.